Yeah, Marissa, Steve, can you guess who we're talking about here? Former President Donald Trump could still technically announce a very last-minute endorsement, but realistically, the time has passed for that endorsement to have its biggest impact. So it appears Trump has decided to stay on the sidelines of races in which he probably could have made all the difference. The contest in which an endorsement likely could have had the most impact is in the 1st Congressional District. Matt Mowers had the Trump endorsement in 2020, and he cruised in that primary. But that was against just one other candidate. The reason Trump held back in CD1 is because he has ties to several candidates beyond Mowers, who served in the State Department. Caroline Leavitt worked in Trump's White House press office, and Gail Huff Brown headed up the Diplomatic Spouses Association. And of course, her husband is former U.S. Senator and Ambassador to New Zealand, Scott Brown. So, not wanting to choose between friends, Mr. Trump took a pass there. In the U.S. Senate race, many have noted that there would seem to be a candidate who is uniquely in sync with the Trump base and the messaging of a political outsider, General Don Bolduc. But Trump hears from a lot of allies, and while some are firmly in Bolduc's corner, others, namely former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski, are very much against him. So in this case as well, Trump apparently did not see a safe bet and stayed out of it. In the 2nd Congressional District, you had Robert Burns Sr. running as the most outspoken pro-Trump candidate. But it's been a decade since a Republican won in CD2, and you rarely see any big names getting involved in races in which the chance of a win is not high, let alone former President Trump, who we know does not like to endorse and lose. Stephen, Marissa?
All right, so Adam, on that point, how much is the former president's unwillingness to really jump in here about him wanting to keep that winning percentage?
It's been reported that Mr. Trump is very interested in keeping that winning percentage high, but the issue with statewide primaries in this cycle, above and beyond what we just talked about, is that there really is enough uncertainty here that there is no safe, easy bet to make in any of these contests. The big question mark being, does the Trump base of the party turn out tomorrow, or does a more traditional sort of standard establishment GOP base turn out? The irony is, no one would have had more control over which base turns out than Mr. Trump himself.
All right, Adam, thank you so much.